Welcome to the Romney Supply Chain Tech podcast. Today, in context of everything that the world is seeing during the pandemic, there is a huge challenge for the pharmaceutical sector, which is to get across the COVID-19 vaccines that are largely in the clinical trial phases today out to the population at large. Now, this is not a challenge that has ever been of such a big magnitude simply because of the fact that most of the other vaccines till date have been to very targeted individuals. It could be either the elderly or it could be children. But for the first time, we are actually looking to vaccinate the world. And obviously, that is a huge challenge in terms of distributing this vaccine and getting it out to every patient who needs it and who needs it on time too. So with your experience with the healthcare industry and as a GXP advisor, I have a few questions around this whole topic, but I would like to begin with a very simple question. Why is it so big of a challenge? Because you always had pharmaceutical companies who were shipping across the world. There were trade lanes. There is vaccines going out into every country. Why is this so unique in your opinion?
It's the sheer scale of what's going on. It's the sheer requirement to go into getting on for 200 countries across the world. And that's clearly going to end up being a rather staged approach. But what we don't want to do as an industry, I think, is to disenfranchise some of the less developed countries in the world, to concentrate on Western Europe, North America, which is where traditionally large amounts of clinical trials have gone on, and indeed where some of the COVID trials are going on at the moment, so that there's a lot of scope to be going out into some less developed areas which have their challenges in terms of setting up supply lanes, actually physically moving material, whether that ends up being sent on aircraft, whether it ends up being sent by ship. It will all have temperature control requirements, as all vaccines do. And at the moment, we don't know what any of those requirements are going to be. We don't know how it's going to end up, because there are so many vaccines on trial at the moment that they will probably be 2 or 3 that come out as being the ones which go into mass production. We don't know where they're going to be produced, although the Gates Foundation has put a huge amount of time and resources into supporting the industry in terms of getting vaccine trials up and running, and is committed to providing physical infrastructure to be able to manufacture vaccine. But we still don't know exactly where that's going to be, which is going to happen, and how we're going to be able to transport temperature control material at whatever temperature it turns out to be into some very challenging locations, which have not typically been used as part of clinical trials. They will clearly be getting some level of commercial drug supply chain into them, but it's probably going to be a very limited number when you start looking at very small places. If you are looking at islands, if you're going out into India, then there's huge challenges going up into the mountain areas, somewhere like going into the Himalayas, into Nepal. You know, these are places that we don't regularly send drug and vaccine to. And that's before you start getting into the more remote areas in South America, in Africa. All of these places do not traditionally take part in big clinical trials or in big commercial supply. And so we're going to have to relearn all of that in a situation that we're at now, where there are not so many commercial aircraft flying, and a lot of commercial aircraft that are passenger aircraft have been repositioned into being cargo aircraft. So it's all, there are too many unanswered questions at the moment for us to be really clear to be able to say, well, we're going to do it like this. And that's only going to evolve over probably the next year or so.